An unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect Dharma is rarely met with even 100,000 million kalpas. Having it to see and listen to remember and accept, I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words. Good morning, all. Welcome to the ongoing talks about the Bodhisattva way, the Bodhisattva heart. I hope everyone is well on this windy spring day. Or if you're seeing this video sometime in the future, I hope you're well then, which is a matter of time. So, I'm offering a series of Dharma talks on the Bodhisattva way, or the Bodhisattva heart. And I'm using Shantideva's aspiration prayer as kind of a matrix or a trellis to propel the talks, to give structure to the talks, because I feel it's a beautiful aspiration prayer, pranidhana in Sanskrit. That's the nature of Buddhist prayers. They're not petitionary, they're prayers to awaken something within one's own mind stream, aspirations. And Shantideva's prayer goes as follows: with the wish to free all beings, I will always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha till the attainment of full awakening. Inspired by compassion and wisdom today, right now, in the presence of the Buddha, I generate the precious bodhicitta, sometimes pronounced bodhicitta, for the benefit of all beings. For as long as space endures, and for as long as living beings remain, until then, may I too abide to dispel the misery of the world. So that's the prayer, and I'm going to try to remember to get it posted on our Facebook page for a reference. And I offer it primarily as a way to structure talks to try to elucidate the Mahayana path of the Bodhisattva. If one feels a connection to it, and it doesn't seem too outlandish to actually use this as a meditation for oneself, by all means, I do it daily. I don't know how many times per day. I'll run it through my mind stream as I'm going about my day. And a mantra practice, it's sometimes called, and I find mantra practice very good. It gives some purchase, or it gives some traction on the perpetual conceptualizations that we do. It kind of intervenes the habit of the running amok of the mind, and introduces something intentional and something virtuous into the mix, which is a good thing, because it stimulates virtuous seeds in one's storehouse consciousness, alaya vijnana, which is not a topic for today, but it nurtures positive seeds in one's consciousness. And it also, by intervening or interrupting habit energy, it elucidates habit energy. We become more aware of how we use our minds when we interrupt the habit for a while with the mantra, and we start to see the various patterns, the various routes that our habits take. And that's insight. That's a little bit of wisdom to know, how our habitual routines, and with the inculcation of aspiration and the deepening of aspiration, spontaneously, those routes of habit start to change character a little bit. Some become less attractive and some become more attractive. And so that's one quick thumbnail sketch of the virtue of having some quote unquote mantra, some conceptual material that one introduces deliberately into the thinking throughout one's day. And if Shantideva's prayer is a little too lofty for one, that's perfectly fine. May all beings be happy. May they be joyous and live in safety, all living beings, whether weak or strong, etc. You know, a metta, loving kindness meditation could be used. Something. I think it's, you know, it's very, very helpful. So a little bit of a soapbox about using some kind of teaching to engage the daily mind with deliberation rather than simply letting habit rule the whole day. You know? So a little sidebar of my soapbox. Today, I want to talk about the first section. There's 3 sections, 3 verses. And the first verse is, with the wish to free all beings, I will always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until the attainment of full awakening. So that's the verse on refuge. It begins with the Bodhisattva aspiration, which is actually for a later talk when the center, the generating bodhicitta. We'll get more into that when we talk about bodhicitta. So, but it's contextualizing the intention for taking refuge. We're not taking refuge simply for our own safety, for our own well-being, for our own peace, but we're taking refuge as a resource for the fulfillment of our aspiration. And so now that I've explained that, we'll set the first portion aside. The last portion says, until the attainment of full awakening. And I have to say, you never get there. Okay, there is no such thing as arriving. It's an endless path, beginningless, endless path. As Dogen says, there's awakening beyond. There are those who realize awakening beyond awakening. You know, you achieve a profound understanding, non-conceptual understanding. You illuminate awareness in a non-conceptual way, and that can be forever deepened. So I just want to, clarify that last verse. It's, you got to say something. It's a shorthand, that you're going to keep on doing it until you're a complete Buddha. But even Buddhas keep on being Buddha in an active, actualizing way, not in a static way. But the main burden of today's talk is to try to explicate refuge, give an understanding of refuge. Refuge is the practice that is common to all Buddhism. It is considered the act of identifying as a Buddhist. It's like, it's like, I don't know, confirmation in Catholicism, maybe, bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah in Judaism, where you say, okay, I'm self-identifying as a Buddhist practitioner. I'm taking that on. And so that's the initial baptism, if you will, of being a Buddhist. And taking refuge occurs informally, like we do every morning after zazen, during our prostrations. And there's formal occasions like lay ordination, jukai, priest ordination. It occurs again with Dharma transmission. Refuges is included in that. And it permeates, universally, all of Buddhism. It's the one thing that any school of Buddhism has in common with each other. But what is refuge? Well, to begin with, I'd like to talk about it in terms of the matrix. You take the blue pill or the red pill. Well, we Sentient beings tend, I forget which is which, which one puts you into the matrix?
Blue.
Most beings take the blue pill, which means they relinquish themselves to the habit energy. And behavior is driven by greed, hate, and delusion, based on the source of suffering, self-clinging. They think there's a self here and there's a world out there. Some of it's pleasant, some of it's unpleasant, some of it's kind of neutral, and that drives the sentient being into a perpetual condition of suffering. That's what we call samsara in Buddhism. And there are the three energies, the greed, hate, and delusion, that course through samsara. The main, the blue pill itself, I got that right, the blue pill itself is self-clinging, the second noble truth, the cause of suffering, which, it's always thinking that, I'm here, I'm the most important thing in the universe. And this isn't ego, this is a misperception. It sounds like ego, I'm the most important thing in the universe. But it's a misperception of self and other, that's what constitutes reality. And if that's true, of course, I'm concerned about myself. Buddha teaches that that's a fundamental delusion, and it gives birth to the other unwholesome roots of greed and hatred, desire and aversion. And that runs on habit. That's in the system, and it just kind of like creates the world we perceive. It's the metaphor of the matrix. It creates the world we perceive. Actions plant seeds in our storehouse consciousness. And when we say an action of irritation plants a seed, and that irritation is based on delusion, but that seed's there. And then when we get irritated once again, that seed is perfumed. The Sanskrit word, I wrote it down here, so I don't. Asana. Asana is like when the seed becomes active in consciousness, it perfumes consciousness. It creates the kind of world that we see. Taking refuge is taking the red pill. With intention, we create a context that can clarify the way things actually, that the intent of which is to clarify the way things actually are. We take a pill that deconstructs the habit energy that we're caught in and starts to open up awareness. The self-other modality of awareness is not wrong. It has its sphere of applicability, but it's not the whole picture. And when we think it's the whole picture, then we're caught in samsara. So the red pill starts to deconstruct that. Refuge starts to deconstruct that assumption, that habitual assumption of self and other, which is the heart of our suffering. So it's creating a different kind of awareness. It's cultivating a different modality of awareness. And there are modalities of awareness. If you're an artist and you're drawing, and you're contemplating an image that you want to sketch, that after a while there's a shift in the brain, and there's a different way of perceiving. And when you look at an image, you're not thinking, and you want to replicate it in a drawing, you're not thinking that a line deviates 30 degrees from horizontal. No, you see the line as a gesture of something being expressed. And then you enter into the artistic zone, and it's a different kind of awareness. So, it's an empirically testable fact that there's more than one modality of awareness. Taking refuge is cultivating a certain modality of awareness. Hence the metaphor of the red pill, something other than the matrix of surrendering to habit, surrendering to samsara. So that's a little my sense of the function of refuge. is the cultivation of awareness, opening up awareness, using tools to deconstruct the notion that subject-object is the only legitimate mode through which to experience our lives. So, having said that, let's look at the elements of refuge: Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Refuge in Sanskrit is called a Tri-Ratna, which is the three jewels. Ratna being jewel, the tri being three, in Latin as in Sanskrit, apparently. And the three jewels of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. They have conventional and ultimate meanings. The conventional meaning is the Buddha. He used to be Prince Siddhartha. Then he fled the palace and saw some things that disturbed him, and he decided to practice. And so he practiced rigorously, woke up to reality, and after he woke up to reality, people started calling him the Buddha. So in the conventional sense, taking refuge in Buddha is taking that most probably historical individual as exemplar and mentor. That that he's basically that guy from the historical record appears to have something I want, and so I'm going to take him as a role model. And so that's the conventional notion of Buddha, the Shakyamuni Buddha. The conventional notion of Dharma is the teachings, the written teachings and the oral teachings, originating with Shakyamuni Buddha and going throughout the history, written down in sutras and shastras, which are commentaries. And that body of teaching, of verbal teaching, conceptual teaching, is the Dharma. The Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, karma and its effects, etc., etc. The cultivation of bodhicitta, which we'll be talking about. The manuals of the practice is the written Dharma, is the conventional understanding of Dharma. Sangha has evolved historically. Initially, it meant the ordained bhikshus and bhikshunis, the people that the Buddha ordained, and for a while in the Buddhist tradition, the word Sangha referred to ordained people. Lay people were not Sangha, monks were Sangha. And lay people, by giving offerings to the Sangha, could cultivate merit, and in a future life, maybe they'd have the opportunity to be a monk or a nun. And then they could be called Sangha. That's the initial meaning. It evolved, and I don't know the exact particulars of the evolution, but in the Mahayana, the term expanded to mean anyone who takes up the Buddhist path, whether they be lay people or ordained. In one sutra in the Mahayana, the Vimalakirti Nirdesa Sutra, Vimalakirti was a layperson, and the Buddha in the sutra invites Vimalakirti to teach, and so the layperson is teaching monks and nuns and other lay people in this sutra. So he's certainly part of the Sangha. And so the term Sangha expands to include anyone who is practicing Buddhism, whether they're lay or ordained. Everybody at Green Gulch Farm that's practicing at Green Gulch Farm is the Green Gulch Sangha, the priests and the students, the lay people. And so that's an evolution of the conventional meaning of Sangha. Those who are practicing the Buddha way, in whatever school they might be practicing, are considered part of the Sangha. But there's an ultimate meaning of refuge that opens that up quite a bit. The ultimate meaning of Buddha, one could say, is essence of mind. The Buddha, just a Homo sapiens like us, sat down under the Bodhi tree and awakened to the essence of mind, the empty and all pervading. And that essence of mind was something that he didn't attain or achieve. He uncovered. It was always there. But the obscurations of habit energy, the obscurations of afflictive emotions and conceptuality obscured essence of mind. And he, through his practice, was able to remove those obscurations and allow mind's essence to be revealed. His mind is no different from our mind. Within our awareness, right here, right now, there is this essence, or no essence, the essence of no essence, another topic. And so when we take refuge in Buddha, we're not taking refuge in somebody else outside of us. We're taking refuge in our own pure mind that is always present. So that's the ultimate meaning of refuge. When we take refuge in Buddha, we're not taking refuge in something external. There is no external. And so taking refuge is taking refuge in our deepest awareness right here, right now. We may not be cognizant of it, but it's not someplace else. That's the ultimate meaning of taking refuge in Buddha. The ultimate meaning of taking refuge in Dharma is taking refuge in the way things actually are. That things arise with a certain law. One translation of the word Dharma is sometimes law. There's a certain reason, or nothing happens accidentally. There's a certain law to how things arise. What do I mean by that? Well, one example is, say you stub your toe. There's a reason why you stubbed your toe. It happened to me a few days ago at the nursing facility. It was because my mind went somewhere, and it was not the most pleasant of thought. It wasn't a horrible thought, but it was a thought that had some juice to it that grabbed me to such an extent that it was the invasion of the body snatchers. I wasn't in my body. And in that moment of being snatched away by this thought, I stubbed my toe. That's what I mean, and that's what Suzuki Roshi means when he says that nothing happens by accident. There's always some reason or some law behind it. There's the function of dependent co-arising is not something inside of a textbook. It's the way this moment manifests perpetually. And so taking refuge in Dharma in the ultimate sense is taking refuge in photosynthesis. It's taking refuge in when you drink water, it goes into your body and the blood carries it throughout the tissues and it's good. So they're taking refuge in Dharma in the ultimate sense is it's a kind of a faith in the inherent order and goodness of experience when we don't, I want to drop an F-bomb here, when we don't bleep it up. When we don't bleep it up, there's an inherent goodness in how things unfold. And so that would be phenomena in their own being are empty. The Heart Sutra teaches us. Phenomena in their own being manifest the Dharmakaya, Buddha's pure body of teaching. The truth body, the reality body of the Buddha. Everything is that. That's what everything actually is the sound on Main Street right now. That's Buddha. That's the reality body of Buddha. That's the ultimate meaning of Dharma. Not only the things written in books, but the way the universe manifests, moment by moment by moment, is the ultimate meaning of taking refuge in Dharma. taking refuge in Sangha is, I heard this phrase that somebody used, Bob Thurman, Robert Thurman. He was leading a retreat and he was leading a meditation, and he encouraged people to invoke their retinue of support. You know, imagine, well, here, I'll give you an example from my own practice. When I was in Tassajara, sometimes I'd go for walks up the road, almost daily. I'd go for a walk up the road, especially when I was so to keep my energy up because I had a lot to do. And I would envision walking up the road with Suzuki Roshi, Mahatma Gandhi, and Jesus and Lao Tzu. I would visually imagine that I would invite them to go for the walk with me. And that's basically what Bob Thurman was saying. You know, visualize your retinue of support. And it can be anybody that has been an inspiration for you, nurtured you, inspired you. You know, visualize them sitting with you, and they're sitting and supporting your practice, and you're supporting their practice. So that's the function of Sangha, which I didn't say earlier. The function of Sangha in the conventional sense is having people to practice with and to engage the Dharma with supports your individual practice. And so in the ultimate meaning of taking refuge in Sangha, the retinue of support is everything. Nothing can be excluded. You know, the pad thai you had for dinner last night is a retinue of support because, you know, if you got, you know, this body needs to be nourished to stay alive. This precious human life is the only realm, classically speaking, in which to practice the Dharma. And so you weren't born a white heron, you were born a human. So, you know, next life, maybe you'll be born a white heron again, or maybe something else. Right now, you're human, you know, and that's a very precious resource. And so anything that supports your living is your Sangha. The air you breathe, the rocks, the trees, the entire universe in the 10 directions is the ultimate Sangha. You know, Dogen in Undivided Activity says the Buddhist practice is to practice with the great earth and all sentient beings. If it's not practice with the great earth and all sentient beings, it is not a Buddhist practice. So that's the ultimate meaning of Sangha, is there's nothing but Sangha. You know? And so that's the ultimate realization that even your enemies, maybe especially your enemies, are part of your retinue of support, because as His Holiness the Dalai Lama loves to say, you can't learn patience very well from your friend. It's your enemy that can really give you the opportunity to cultivate patience. So the ultimate sense of refuge is there's nothing excluded. I mean, the ultimate sense of refuge in Sangha is there's nothing excluded. Everything that manifests in this moment is your Sangha. To carry this ultimate sense of refuge a little further, I want to share with you this text. It's in this book, When the Clouds Part, which is a wonderful book that includes the Uttara Tantra and many commentaries and an extensive introduction of well over 100 pages by Karl Brunholz. He's German. I'm probably butchering the poor man's name, but a great book. And in one of the commentaries that he has, in Appendix A, is a letter from Stainless Expanse and Awareness, a causal summary of the Uttara Tantra. And he doesn't identify where this comes from. You know, I was a little annoyed when I couldn't find out the source from which this comes, or the author, etc. He doesn't actually, and I looked and I couldn't find it. But it's a great little thing. And it's short. It's 2 pages. And a portion of the first page is refuge. He talks about refuge. And that's what I want to read to you. Unconditioned, effortless, and not to be realized through something other than unconditioned and effortless. Omniscience, love, and power are a Buddha's perfection of the two benefits of self and other. This is the ultimate refuge without granting and taking. You don't take refuge, it's not given to you. It's the ultimate refuge without granting and taking. Do not look for something other than the present luminous expanse of your mind. I love that line. Do not look for something other than the present luminous expanse of your mind. That's taking refuge in Buddha. Inconceivable, free from the dual, free from dualism, self and other, and without any thoughts, purity, clarity, and remedy. These are contained in the two realities of cessation and path. The Four Noble Truths, the cessation of suffering, the path to the cessation of suffering. So what that actually means is inconceivable, free from the dual, and without any thoughts, purity, clarity, and remedy. These are contained in the two realities of cessation and the path. Genuine Dharma of scriptures and realization, vastness free from the extremes of existence and non-existence. The self-radiance of the Dharmakaya is displayed as what is to be practiced and realized. That's the ultimate taking refuge in Dharma. Suchness, extent, and vision of inner primordial awareness, free from attachment, unimpeded and unsurpassable. These are the qualities of awareness and liberation. The awareness that the basic way of being of our own mind is the remedy for dualistic appearances. Let me say that sentence again. I put a period where there isn't one. The awareness that the basic way of being of our own mind is the remedy for dualistic appearances, is the freedom of the Sangha, in which the way things appear and actually are one. So you can see that is not simply Shakyamuni and the sutras and the guy sitting next to you in the Zendo. That's not the ultimate refuge. The ultimate refuge is nothing other than your own awareness, which is not different from another's awareness, which is the source of everything. One's own awareness is the source of everything. But that profound fact is obscured by afflictive emotion and thinking we know stuff, conceptualization. And underlying those obscurations is the ultimate refuge. Your own inmost awareness, which is outside of time, outside of space, prior to personality, the original face before your parents were born. That's the ultimate refuge. You can look at it in three ways, but the important thing is it's there. It's here. And we can orient ourselves towards it. We can regurgitate the blue pill, take the red pill, start to cultivate a way of being aware, a way of perception that is analogous to this ultimate fact. First, it's a matter of faith and reason. Karma makes sense when you start to study it. The Eightfold, the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path make sense reasonably. It's not an unreasonable thing. So our thinking mind, which when we allow habit to run the day, obscures our nature. If we start using that to make a more accurate representation of reality, it's still a map. Conceptualization is always at best a map, but then if we do that, if we take that red pill and start, taking refuge and studying teachings of awakening and karma, etc., the various things, then the three doors of body, speech, and mind will start to correspond to something, a reality that's deeper than that. And we'll be manifesting a karma that is closer in line with our original nature. And that will kind of like, we'll be planting those kinds of seeds. And the perfume, the asana that arises from that will start to smell more like Buddha instead of the other things that might be smelling like when we allow habit to plant seeds. And so we'll start to see Buddha little by little. We'll start to see the ultimate meaning of refuge. And then we can rest a little bit. Our love will come out spontaneously. We won't have to coax it out of ourselves. And then we'll be at home, which is the ultimate refuge. Well, that's what I have for today. As I said, I'll try to get Shantideva's prayer up on the Facebook page before the beginning of the week, when I have to go back and do other things with my time. And I encourage you to find a way to take refuge. It doesn't have to be anything I said today, but to go back to what I said earlier about finding a way to relinquish habit energy, not let habit run the show 24/7 in your awareness, in your thinking mind. Don't allow your awareness to be habit. Find a way to intervene that spinning samsaric tendency to allow greed, hate, and delusion, desire, aversion, and indifference run how you see your life, how you see awareness. Shantideva's aspiration prayer may be a bit much for folks. I'm aware of that. But, just walking lovingly on the earth with intention. That'll work. Find a way to spit out the blue pill, somehow, get out of the matrix somehow of suffering, even for a breath. One breath will lead to two breaths. Two breaths will lead to finding some place within your own heart and mind, or your home. That's refuge. It can be expanded limitlessly, but that's the seed right there. Taking a step out of the matrix of suffering and into your true nature. It can be done right now. It's unconditioned, so there's no obstruction to it. It just requires the aspiration, nothing more. May our intention equally extend to every being and place with the true merit of Buddha's way. Beings are numberless. I vow to save them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. Buddha's way is unsurpassable. I vow to become it.